but I can feel the tension in the room. I can see the fear in your eyes, and it's rightfully placed there.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy.
This is an historic moment. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order
that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion.
A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
But sir, just one thing, we just want to let you know, the New World Order has no legitimacy, and that we as a people are not afraid, and we are waking up to the robber barons and the big banksters who are looting this economy with the Federal Reserve.
Well,
I mean, the Rothschilds family did start the federal, they divided Europe first, took over Europe, the Napoleon.
That's exaggerated.
Well, no comment on that, sir?
I frankly think that crisis initiation is really tough.
On subversion instead of elections.
And it's very hard for me to see how the United States president can get us to war with Iran. Which leads me to conclude that if, in fact, compromise is not coming, that the traditional way of America gets to war is what would be best for U.S. interests. Some people might think that Mr. Roosevelt wanted to get us into World War II, as David mentioned. You may recall we had to wait for Pearl Harbor.
On intimidation instead of free choice.
Some people might think Mr. Wilson wanted to get us into World War I. You may recall he had to wait for the Lusitania episode. Some people might think that Mr. Johnson wanted to send troops to Vietnam. You may recall we had to wait for the Gulf of Tonkin episode. We didn't go to war with Spain until until the Maine exploded. And may I point out that Mr. Lincoln did not feel he could call out the Federal Army until Fort Sumter was attacked, which is why he ordered the commander at Fort Sumter to do exactly that thing which the South Carolinians had said would cause an attack. So if, in fact, the Iranians aren't going to compromise, it would be best if somebody else started the war.
On guerrillas by night instead of armies by day.
One can combine other means of pressure with sanctions. I mentioned that explosion on August 17th. We could step up the pressure. I mean, look, people, Iranian submarines periodically go down. Someday one of them might not come up. Who would know why? We can do a variety of things if we wish to increase the pressure. I'm not advocating that, but I'm just suggesting that this is not a either-or proposition. It's just sanctions has to succeed or other things. We are in the game of using covert means against the Iranians. We could get nastier at that.
It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
It lays the predicate and foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned.
And so in July of 2019, I submitted a FOIA request. And here's what I asked for. In the Army report, which came out in 2016, for fiscal year 2015, the Army indicated that there were $6.5 trillion in unsupported adjustments. These are unverified transactions.
No rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
And you think to yourself, how in the world could that be? The Army's budget in that year, the general fund budget, was $122 billion. How could you get $6.5 trillion?
Pentagon, the day before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war. He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of what it already spends.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it.
The fifth and final objective of this annual meeting is to reconstruct the global economy.
No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
We are at an inflection point, I believe, in the world economy. Not just the world economy, in the world. It occurs every 3 or 4 generations. As one of the top military people said to me in a secure meeting the other day, 60 million people died between 1900 and 1946. That hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's going to be a new world order out there.
My background is I used to be a Dow theorist. I used to be a gold bug. I was one of the first individuals on the Chicago Board of Option Exchange. I used to trade commodities. There's not one facet of the financial services that I have not been a part of. And in some ways, I was one of the founders, although I wasn't on the board of Certified Financial Planners. I've got a lot of experience. And when I tell you the fucking end's coming, the tsunami's coming, I know what I'm talking about. And you're not prepared. Not just you, nobody's prepared. I'm putting my ass on the line. I'm telling you, there is a black swan event coming. I don't know if we're going to war with Putin. I don't know if another corona is going to come out that is not curable. I don't know whether the Federal Reserve is going to finally implode. I don't know what it is, but it's coming.
But the point is, it's real. One of the tools he's most likely to use, in my view, in our view, is cyber attacks. They have a very sophisticated cyber capability.
Let's begin with going back to Gorbachev and his meetings when he was asked by several people, all of them quite important, to allow Germany to reunite and take down the Berlin Wall. And not many people, I mean, when I would say this, many people would say, it's not true, it's not true. He was told by James Baker, if this happens, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward.
С тех пор прошло 7 лет, и только 4 государства ратифицировали этот документ, включая Российскую Федерацию. Страны НАТО открыто заявили, что не ратифицируют договор, включая положение о фланговых ограничениях, о размещении на флангах определенного количества вооруженных сил, до тех пор, пока Россия не выведет свои базы из Грузии и Молдавии. Из Грузии наши войска выводятся, причем даже в ускоренном порядке. Эти проблемы мы с нашими.
Well, not long ago, on December 12th, 2017, the National Defense Archives of George Washington University declassified the minutes of the Baker-Gorbachev discussion, and it's there. But it's not only Baker who said that to him. There were several people who did. The German leadership did, West German at those days, and so on. And finally, I don't know whether Gorbachev could have stopped Germany from reuniting, but the fact of the matter is that they said yes, and took down the Berlin Wall.
Что же происходит в это же самое время? А в это самое время в Болгарии и Румынии появляются так называемые легкие американские передовые базы по 5000 штыков в каждой. Получается, что НАТО выдвигает свои передовые силы к нашим государственным границам. А мы, строго выполняя договор, никак не реагируем на эти действия. Думаю, очевидно, процесс натовского расширения не имеет никакого отношения к модернизации самого Альянса или к обеспечению безопасности в Европе. Наоборот, это серьезно провоцирующий фактор, снижающий уровень взаимного доверия. И у нас есть справедливое право откровенно спросить, против кого это расширение.
And NATO stayed put. It stayed put in those days.
Весьма признателен за приглашение на столь представительную конференцию. От конференции дает мне возможность избежать излишнего политеса и необходимости говорить округлыми, приятными, но пустыми дипломатическими штампами. От конференции позволяет сказать то, что я действительно думаю о проблемах международной безопасности. Если мои рассуждения покажутся нашим коллегам излишне полемически заостренными, либо неточными, я не сердиться. Это ведь только конференция. И надеюсь, что после 2-3 минут моего выступления господин Тельчик не включит там красный свет.
And here's a good right hand by Tyson Fury. That's a wake-up shot.
Предлагавшийся же после холодной войны однополярный мир тоже не состоялся. История человечества, конечно, знает и периоды однополярного состояния, и стремления к мировому господству. Чего только не было в истории человечества. Однако, что же такое однополярный мир? Как бы ни украшали этот термин, он в конечном итоге означает на практике только одно. Это один центр власти, один центр силы, один центр принятия решения. Это мир одного хозяина, одного суверена. И это в конечном итоге губительно не только для всех, кто находится в рамках этой системы, но и для самого суверена, потому что разрушает его изнутри. Ничего общего не имеет, конечно, с демократией. Потому что демократия – это, как известно, власть большинства при учете интересов и мнений меньшинства. Кстати говоря, Россию нас постоянно учат демократии. Но те, кто нас учат, сами почему-то учиться не очень хотят.
But in the next 4 years, in 1996 approximately, a decision was taken to enlarge NATO. 3 countries: Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary.
В сфере навязывается другим государствам. Ну, кому это понравится? Кому это понравится? В текущей политической конъюнктуре. Что никто уже не чувствует себя в безопасности. Я хочу это подчеркнуть. Никто не чувствует себя в безопасности. Можем ли мы безучастно смотреть на то, что происходит? Я попробую ответить на ваш вопрос тоже. Конечно, мы не должны смотреть безучастно. Конечно, нет. Но есть ли у нас средства, чтобы противостоять этим угрозам? Конечно, есть. В условиях отсутствия угрозы взаимного уничтожения нам не хватает политической культуры, уважения к ценностям демократии и к праву.
This is an historic moment. We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
И в этой связи я или не понял то, что было сказано вот совсем недавно нашим коллегой, министром обороны Италии, либо он выразился неточно. Я, во всяком случае, услышал, что легитимным применение силы может считаться только в том случае, если решение принято в НАТО, или в Евросоюзе, или в ООН. Если он действительно так считает, то у нас с ним разные точки зрения. Или я ослышался. Легитимным можно считать применение силы только если решение принято на основе и в рамках ООН. И не надо подменять Организацию Объединенных Наций ни НАТО, ни Евросоюз. Задуматься об обеспечении своей собственной безопасности.
Perhaps there is no answer to the dilemma faced by a free and open society in a cold and secret war. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed.
Progress toward these noble goals is persistently threatened by the conflict now engulfing the world. We face a hostile ideology, global in scope, atheistic in character, ruthless in purpose, and insidious in method. Unhappily, the danger it poses promises to be of indefinite duration. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. We should take nothing for granted.